What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Season 4 off-season recap, as well as just a recap of our season in general. This is John J Gaming on the mic, and it's been a crazy season. Left me a little lost for words. Just taking a look at how the entire season went down for us. We started off by playing FCS Southeast, and we ended up losing the Southeast 12-20. We scored 12 points against an FCS team, which, it was a really tough way to start the season. And then, we played Miami, who was number 6 at the time. They killed us. So did Auburn. We lost to UNLV, and it was just one of those things. We started the season 0-7. It was really tough to see. But then we played Hawaii. We ended up beating Hawaii 38-14, lost to TCU. And then we got our first winning streak in our FBS era. We beat Fresno State 34-10, and then we pulled the upset on Utah, who was ranked number 16 at the time, by a final score of 39-36 before losing our final game at home. We lost our senior day against Louisville 51-31. It was tough to see, but we won 3 of our last 5 games, and we beat a ranked squad, or a squad that was ranked at the time. So it's definitely a program-changing moment, and it's gonna give us some positive momentum going into Season 5 as we move into the MAC Conference, our first conference that we ever joined as an FBS conference. But now, taking a look at the season stats, we're going to start with our passers. John Wilson, he was our starting quarterback for most of the season. He had a tough start, but he did play better as the season went on. He ended up with over 2,600 yards, 12 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Our backup, Desi Lindsey, he backed up John Wilson, and he played okay as well. 18 for 38, over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Not bad for a former walk-on, if I say so myself. Running game, we did do our best to also try to establish it, because we know our passing attack wasn't quite as dangerous as it was last year. And we did okay. Dilkins led us with rushing yards. He had 4 yards per carries, had 668 yards and 5 touchdowns. John Wilson was actually second despite being a pocket passer. He had 146 yards and 4 touchdowns. Sanders looked good in his carries. He had 88 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then Chad McKenzie was also to get a touchdown on senior day, actually, which was extremely cool to see as well. Receivers, we were mainly led by Kevin Stone, who improved so much over the course of 4 years. Going back to his freshman and sophomore years, he had 28 drop passes his first 2 years here at St. Thomas, but he just kept working on his craft, and he ended up in his senior year, he scored more touchdowns than he had drop passes. It was a huge improvement. He ended up finishing with 65 catches for 780 yards, which leads all St. Thomas receivers to also score a touchdown. Include Chad McKenzie, he and Denny Dilkins and Andre Luck. They all had 2 catches. Andre Luck's probably going to take over as our number 1 receiver next season. Freddie Gibson was able to get into the end zone once. He had 25 catches for 245 yards. And then Patrick Miller, he had 60 catches, not 60 catches, he had 5 catches, 60 yards, 1 touchdown. That did not make sense. That makes a lot more sense now. Andrew Green, he regressed a little bit. He had half as many catches last year, so that's a little concerning. Mark McDaniel, he had an okay season as well. And Ryan Sanders, I gotta say, for a freshman at fullback, he looked really good. I might move him to halfback. I know I talked about that a few times, but we'll see how position changes go. Our defense this season was anchored by our safeties, Jeff Arnold and Bobby Football. Both led in tackles. Arnold had 73 tackles, whereas Bobby Football had 62. TFLs, though, William Swan, Josh Parker, and again Jeff Arnold got the job done. Swan had 25 tackles for a loss. We're definitely going to miss his production as he's supposed to graduate this year. Josh Parker had 18 TFLs and Jeff Arnold had 14. We also did a better job of getting to the quarterback as our defensive end tandem combined for 14.5 sacks, which is absolutely nuts. as our defense really stepped up this season. Chris Hill had 5 sacks from the defensive tackle position, so we might move him to defensive end. Might see even more production. Aaron Moore had 3 sacks. Jeff Arnold, again, 2.5 sacks. And then Joel White finished out, rounding out the team with 2 sacks. We also did a lot better job of forcing turnovers, especially towards the latter half of the season. Brian Cook was the only person that had multiple interceptions this season, but Derek Jackson also caught an interception. Same with Jeff Arnold, Aaron Rodgers, Corey Fitzpatrick. He actually brought one back for a touchdown, which was really cool to see. And then Jared Odom, he caught an interception. I think it was in the first game of the season as well. And then moving on to forced fumbles, we had 3 forced fumbles this season. Swan, Brian Cook, and Aaron Rodgers had forced fumbles. And then we also had 3 recoveries. So Derek Jackson actually recovered 2 of the fumbles, and then Bobby Football also had a fumble recovery as well. So I mean, it was a lot better in general. And then I guess we had a couple of field goal punt blocks in our simulations. Did not know that, but I mean, I guess that's really cool to see that. And you know, it's just really cool that our defense definitely stepped up over the course of the season. We also just received word of the 2017 Heisman Trophy results, and the winner for this season is going to be from Clemson. It's quarterback Taysom P. I am not going to even try to pronounce that last name, but he had one heck of a season and dominated the final Heisman voting. Now we're moving on to the team stats for both our offense and our defense. For St. Thomas offense, we had the 3rd least amount of total offensive yards and had the least amount of points scored per game. But don't get it twisted, this offense was a lot more dangerous than it looked. It just kind of reflected how bad the first half of the season went. But during the second half of the season, we played a lot better, and you know, it doesn't show really the true picture. It just really showed how really bad the first half was, and then how we were able to get our act together during the second half of the season. Defense though was a lot better, because you usually see, you know, St. Thomas, you know, in last place in a lot of these categories. That's actually not the case this season. Our defense really stepped up. They played a whole lot better than they did last season. St. Thomas is not even in the immediate bottom. It's just, you know, sometimes our offense put us in a bad spot. Like, there's St. Thomas right there. I just finally found him, and you know, we're towards the middle. And you know, our defense got a lot better, and you know, we're going to get a lot of our defensive starters next season. So I think this is going to be even better. We're going to have one of the better defenses in the FBS, even though right now it's only a 61 overall for our defensive team. And then looking for other stacks, you know, we're still a little bit towards the bottom when it comes to turnovers, but we're not in the immediate bottom. So I mean, I can definitely take that. You know, our defense is definitely much improved compared to what it was last year, and I'm really encouraged by how our defense is coming along. I think the 4-2-5 scheme is really helping us out a lot, because our strength is, in fact, our secondary. So I mean, you love to see it when we have so many of our better playmakers out there on the field. Fortunately for us though, despite the strong end to our season, Kevin DeBoer is actually going to get fired. I thought a few of those games, we had a 61% chance of, we had 61% job security, so I thought we would be okay. But it looks like we're going to have a brand new coach, and we're about to go find out who that new coach is going to be. Now we meet our 4th coach in St. Thomas's FBS era. It's Walt Bell, who is an alumni from Mid-Tennessee State. He actually was the head coach of Mid-Tennessee State, but decided to come here. I guess he wanted a better challenge and, you know, really wanted something for his legacy. He does run the UMass spread, which I think, pretty sure is similar to the spread offense that we ran in the past couple of years, but the defensive playbook is going to be different. He runs a 3-4 screen, so that'll be an interesting challenge, since we don't have a lot of middle linebackers right now. But you know, we'll definitely we should be able to adjust, and that will give our outside linebackers, which is a talented bunch, more playing time on the field. Alright, so now that we got the coaching changes out of the way, we now look at guys that are graduating, and this is always the toughest part of any off season. We gotta say goodbye to Kevin Stone, who was an original walk-on, but grinded himself up to a 75 overall, got 99 catching, you know, so definitely a guy that definitely worked on the craft. Same thing with Justin Little. Justin Little, I believe, was also a walk-on for us, but you know, he got up to a 73 overall. William Swan's graduating in 2 years of production. He had over 17 sacks and also had 45 tackles for a loss, so we're definitely going to miss him. Custom recruit Thomas Crow. He was our custom recruit back in season 1. He played sparingly after the first season, but you know, it's always tough to see the custom recruits graduate, so we're definitely going to miss him. And then here are the other guys that are going to graduate. We're going to miss Chad McKenzie's speed. This man had speed to burn, just couldn't quite get it going with his hands necessarily. Basically a lot of walk-ons leaving the team. Desi Lindsay in particular, we're going to miss him, man. He came through in some clutch moments sometimes, particularly junior season when Jesse Walton came down. He at least did his best to keep us together. And yeah, we're gonna definitely miss all of you guys on, you know, that are graduating, and we're wishing them all the best of luck. This team will still not have any NFL draft picks, which I mean, I figured that was gonna be fairly obvious, but we do, however, get 2 people transferring in, both of them at halfback. Lucas Coley, he had 10 carries for 30 yards, and you know, he had the 1 touchdown. Didn't catch anything out of the backfield. You know, 67 overall, decent speed. You know, and I think decent, you know, got to work on the catching a little bit, but he's going to sit out a year, but he can definitely help us out down the line. And then we got a balanced running back from Aaron Ward, who's going to be transferring in from Oregon State. 6'1", 200 pounds. He actually did not play at all. Looks like, yeah, he did not play whatsoever. Wanted a place to get some more playing time. He's got 84 speed, 81 acceleration, 80 agility. You know, got to work on his awareness a little bit, as well as maybe his like carrying abilities and catching, so he can become a more well-rounded back out of the back room. But we're definitely going to welcome both of these guys onto the St. Thomas football team. So we go ahead and move on to signing day, and these are the people that we're going to be bringing in. It's going to be headlined by 3 people. Chris Lake, who does seem like he has potential of becoming our next starting quarterback, 71 overall. Antrod Madsen, 68 overall, can definitely help us out right away. Jamie Smith, 64 overall, can at least be a solid backup at the fullback position. And then we also have Sean Richardson, who's a punter, but we might either move him or the punter that we currently have on our roster, whose name actually escapes me. He is a punter after all. We might move one of them to kicker, because we do need a kicker. Other people to sign with us include John Feudux, Sheldon Collins, who will probably redshirt next season, Adrian Allen, Brian Anderson, Kyle Dunn. You know, some guys that, you know, may need some development before they see the field, but they could, you know, it's not a bad class considering our restrictions. Definitely are bringing in a good number of people. So if you want to be a customer recruit for season 5, just let me know which one of these people that you want to replace, and then let me know their new name, and I will definitely go and make that happen for you guys. Just let me know down in the comments. I'll probably have a pinned comment. Actually, I will have a pinned comment with the template. Alright, so now we get to the position changes for our St. Thomas team for this season. Obviously, we're not going to do anything with quarterback, halfback, or like the fullback positions. We don't know what schemes they want. Same thing with receivers. We can't really move any of the receivers, just because, you know, we're down to like 6 wide receivers. I wish we had more, but it looks like we won't be able to redshirt anybody. We also aren't going to make any moves on the offensive line. Seems like for the most part we're pretty stabilized there. We just need to bring in more linemen. Now, the defense, however, we are going to change things up a little bit. Josh Parker is going to stay where he's at. However, we did decide to move Chris Hill back to right end. I didn't like the idea of Brian Anderson starting at right end. I'd like to see him develop more before he seats the field on a more consistent basis. So Chris Hill should be the starter on the right end, with Corey Ford also backing him up. I moved him over from defensive tackle. Since it's a 3-4 scheme, you only need one D tackle on the field at a time. So then a defensive tackle, we now have Glenn Robertson starting for us, and then we'll also have Roger Bryant backing him up. We'll still have 6 defensive tackles. One of them will probably get cut. Walter Ducks, I'm sorry, buddy. You'll most likely get cut. You hate to see it. At a left outside line, at the linebacker position, we also made some changes. We had to move a lot of guys over. So some of the guys that moved over, actually it's these 4 guys right here. So make sure we had 3 strings in Malachi Jackson, Tyler Graham, Robert Heath, Jermaine Horn. All 4 of these guys have moved from their outside linebackers. They've now moved inwards, so that we have 3 strings for our new 3-4 scheme. So hopefully they can develop behind Derek Jackson as well. Left outside linebacker, we'll still have Adam Wright starting. We'll see more of him on the field, which will be exciting to see. And then Joel White should get more run on the field as well. You know, he's a 66 overall. Didn't see the field too terribly much because of our scheme, but now we move to a 3-4, things should look a little bit better for us. Corner, and then our secondary, we didn't do anything with our secondary, so this is what our stars are going to look like. A lot of the same from last year. And then, you know, kicker, we did move Sean Richardson to kicker, just because he had higher kick power, and I value that more from a kicker versus with my punter. We're just going to keep Robert Williams at punter. Next up, we have the training results for our guys, and overall we're looking like a much better team. We have more 70 overall guys on the squad, which is always extremely encouraging to see. Just break it down by position though, see what we got going. John Wilson is up to a 67 overall with Calvin Calcutti. He's now up to a 58 overall despite being over 400 pounds. He has a speed rating of 71. You love to see it. Halfback, we're gonna have a huge promising guys at halfback over the years. We're gonna have Lucas Coley and Aaron Ward. Both of them have transferred in. They have to sit out this season, but they're up to 71 and 70 overalls, which is extremely encouraging to see. Denny Dawkins gets himself up to a 69 overall, so it looks like he might be the starter for next season. Brett Jones is up to a 61, and Mike Haynes is at a 56. Fullback Ryan Sanders gets up to a 65, so he'll remain as the starting fullback. Wide receiver Andre Luck, Mark McDaniel, Andrew Green, and Alex Garcia make nice jumps, so they're all over 60 overall. Might be our best receiving core to date, and that will be taken care of. Left tackle Thomas Davis moves up to a 73. Dave Bass is 74. Pierre Jones is a 64, DeLuca's a 70, and Sanders is a 77. Parker is a 77 overall, as is Chris Hill, who's a 65 overall. Defensive tackle, you know, we have some solid defensive tackles in the wing, so we'll have a solid rotation there. Left outside linebacker, we got Aaron Wright at 73. Jackson at 77 and Joel at 70, so we'll have 3 starting linebackers over 70 overall. Definitely a promising sign. Corners, we have 2 70 overalls, and and plenty of guys in the wings ready to mess things up. Free safety Bobby Football moves up to a 66, and Jeff Arnold goes to a 76 overall. And our punter is also 65, so I guess that's a thing as well. To the final cuts. And we're just gonna start from the other side, just cut the worst players possible. So a lot of these 40 overall guys, they are going to leave the team, as they say. A lot of these guys just simply gotta go, as we're gonna cut McFarlane, Joey Clark, and then Bo Martin. He's gonna get the axe as well. Actually, hang on, Ivor Clark or Chris Jackson. Let's see. So hang on. Let me figure this out real quick. Actually, so we're gonna decide. It's close between the other quarterback, but I think what we're gonna do is so it's tempting, but I think we're gonna cut Bo Martin simply because we have another freshman at quarterback that's better than him, and that's not the case at corner. We only have one freshman at corner, so going to go ahead and cut Bo Martin, who is going to be the final cut for this team. And so this is going to be the final roster for the squad. Looks like we're going to be a lot better across the board. I can't wait to see how much we improved from the previous season, especially on offense as well. I can't wait to get into the preseason finally. Now, I am also a person of my word, and we will indeed accept the invitation to join the MAC conference. We will be out west. We'll be a little bit farther out than everybody else, but that's fine. And then we also are taking UMass with us. They're going to be joining the eastern part of the MAC conference, and I'm pretty sure we're on the tougher side, but we can definitely deal with the adversity though. Now that we are in the preseason portion of this episode, let's jump into guys that we're going to redshirt for season 5. First, Sheldon Collins is going to get redshirt. He's going to be our 4th string quarterback, so he wasn't going to see the field anyway, but we'll definitely make sure that he gets the redshirt. And then we'll still have Chris Lake, John Wilson, and Calvin Calcutta on the squad for this upcoming season. Running backs are going to redshirt 2 people. Lucas Cawley, because he's transferring in, so he wouldn't be able to play anyways. And then we're also going to redshirt Antoine Madsen. I feel okay with what we have at running back right now with Dilkins, Brett Jones, and Mike Haynes. We'll have extra time with Antoine Madsen, and we can utilize his speed for 2 better years instead of 2 other years, because Madsen was going to be a backup regardless. At defensive tackle, we are going to redshirt Willie Robertson because he is currently a 5th string guy, and there's 3 seniors ahead of him, so we're going to need him down the line in the future. So it'll give him some development at least for a season before he sees the field. And then finally, the last person that I'm specifically going to redshirt is Chris Jackson. He's way down there on the depth chart, and there's a lot of juniors and seniors ahead of him. We'll go ahead and redshirt Chris Jackson as well, as I'll give him some time to develop his coverage skills because he is a decent athlete. So these are the guys that we're also going to go after initially, as they are either in the state of Minnesota or around the state of Minnesota. They're recruiting restrictions that we still have to deal with, as we're a 1-star school that hasn't won a bowl game yet so far in this dynasty. A few guys that I want to highlight is Antoine Johnson. He's a scrambler from Oakdale, Minnesota. He looks promising, 70 overall with good speed, 77 speed, 74 acceleration. Could definitely be great for our team. Devin Green is a 67 overall. Definitely needs some help on the offensive line. Corey Mitchell could be a good replacement for Jeff Arnold. Omar Jones is a 60 overall. And then there's some other guys that are in the 50s, and then hopefully these guys also move up, but we'll have to wait and see. But this is currently what our team would look like, or at least our recruiting class looks like for the initial part of season 5. Finally, the schedule for season 5, as this is what we have going for us. We're going to start off with road games against Tulane and the number 9th ranked team in the country in Illinois. Then we'll have our first home game against Georgia State before we go into conference play, taking on Bowling Green, Akron, Central Michigan, Ball State, Northern Illinois, Eastern and Western Michigan, Toledo, and then we'll close things out with a home game against Army. So it's definitely a workable schedule. Besides maybe the Illinois game, all of these other games we have the potential to win. So I definitely see a bowl game for us going into season 5. We just got to get it done on the football field. This episode will be us taking on the Tulane Green Wave. We're currently 1-1 against them. This is our 3rd matchup against these guys, actually, despite being in different conferences this entire time. It should be a good one, so make sure you smash that like button as well as subscribe to the channel if you happen to be brand new. This is John J Gaming on the mic, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care, everybody.